that was really hurting them a lot, right?
But I made a mistake. I made a mistake in late 2008, early 2009. We made a mistake, but the we includes me. Because I moved to a position of advisor at the end of March 2009. And the stock at some point in late 2008, early 2009 went down to 10. And I should have said, hey, we should buy a lot more.
Yeah.
But I was worried about it because there were some people were questioning the ability of American Express to raise, to issue paper, to issue debt paper. The ability to go to the market to raise money. Right?
But they had one famous backer in Omaha, right? Warren Buffett would have given them some money in it.
Warren Buffett doesn't give anything to anybody. As you know, when he dealt with Goldman Sachs, it was on the basis of a 10% preferred or something like that. So American Express probably would have had to pay a lot in order to raise the capital that's necessary in that business. But what I missed, what we missed, including me, is the fact that I was not quite sure that the Federal Reserve would be so willing, eager even, to provide enormous liquidity to the system. And they did provide enormous liquidity to the system, which meant that American Express and some other companies were able to raise money. So that was a big miss at 10. I mean, today the stock is 50 or something. Right?
Yeah.
Right. 40. Right?
Yeah. And but it could have come also the other way, a Great Depression, and some more would have been wiped out.
That's right.
And we may suffer still today, right? Who knows?
Yes, but
in hindsight, it's easy, right, to judge and say.
But today, everybody is a neo-Keynesian. In other words, there's no willingness, whatsoever to. Let me put it another way: if a capitalist or an entrepreneur makes a huge bet, and the bet is a winning bet, he or she pockets the money, pockets the winnings, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
If the entrepreneur or capitalist makes a huge bet and loses the bet, they have a tendency to trot to Washington and say, hey, maybe the taxpayer could foot the bill.
Yeah.
Milton Friedman always said that he was not pro-business, he was pro-free market.
Yeah.
Which is there is a big difference between the two. And Milton Friedman also said that the capitalist system is a system of gains and losses. And for the system to function properly, the losses are as important as the gains. In other words, you make a mistake, you have to pay for the mistake. If I buy a stock at 45 and it goes down to 20, and the business is in great difficulty, and I should not even consider continuing to own the stock. I sell it at 20, and I've lost a lot of money. So I'm paying for my mistakes. Everybody should be paying for their mistakes. Everybody in the financial world should be paying for their mistakes. And nowadays, the Federal Reserve, the central bank in all countries, in Japan, in Europe as well, is very willing to come in and help the. In Japan, I've been in this business one way or the other more than half a century. I will be 77 years old in January, and my first job was with Société Générale de French Bank in 1962.
In Paris, then.
In Paris, right. And
they sent you then later on to New York, or 5 years later?
Yes, I first came to New York in 1968.
Mm-hmm.
But what did I mention? Oh, yeah, in my more than 50 years, I've seen only one case where I thought even if I looked at 65 stocks, I would not buy any, which was the Tokyo stock market at the end of 1989. Everything had been pushed up. I mean, the American equity market in the late 90s, you had the new economy stocks, which went through the roof and then collapsed. And you had the so-called old economy stocks, which were selling at very reasonable prices. Nobody, except for us and a few others, nobody wanted to own the old economy stock. I remember because we lag, one reason, if value investing makes sense, and if it works over time, which it does, I believe, how come there are so few of us? The late Bill Ruane, who ran the Sequoia Fund very successfully for decades, so successfully that the Sequoia Fund was closed most of the time. He estimated several decades ago, before he passed away, that there was about 5% of professionally managed money that was investing on the basis of on the value investing basis, but from Graham to Buffett and everybody in between. So how come there are so few of us? If it makes sense and it works all the time. And I think it's what Jeremy Grantham calls career risk. That many investors are impatient. And in the late 90s, we lagged for 3 years in a row, 97, 98, 99. After 1 year of lagging the index and our peers, our shareholders were dissatisfied. After 2 years, they were upset. After 3 years, they were gone. So in my next life, I want a closed-end fund. No subscriptions, no redemptions. So it's the fear. There are few value investors, and also psychologically, it's painful. Even if the investors don't abandon you, if you lag the others and your benchmark, it is psychologically painful.
Yeah.
And another way to say it is to say, it's warmer inside the herd.
Mm-hmm. But your fund went really well, so it grew really fantastically.
It grew, but we were running more than 6 billion in the fall of 97. By the spring of 2000, we were running barely more than 2 billion. And not because we had lost money for shareholders during those 3 years, but because many shareholders had abandoned us. Now today we own, I think, close to 90 billion, so...
yeah. Right. And today a big position is gold, right? It's right. Indexed gold. It's not a gold mine or so, right? It's or do you own gold mines?
We own a combination because mutual funds are not allowed, theoretically are not allowed to own physical assets.
Yeah.
Except that we can own some, but only some gold bullion.
Okay.
Which we do.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, the rest is gold mining stocks.
Okay.
But we own gold. People say, "Oh, you've always owned gold." It's not true. I mean, we're in between when I took over in 1979, what was then a $15 million fund. I bought some gold mining stocks, and then I could see that Paul Volcker had taken the steps. He was the last one to do so. Taken the steps to reduce and eliminate the inflation of the 1970s, and so I sold the gold mining stocks. I could see that he was serious about doing it, even though many people complained about him. So I sold the gold mining. The only stock I retained that had to do with gold was the stock of the Bank for International Settlements, because it was so extraordinarily cheap. And then in the mid to late 80s, I saw the development of the leveraged buyout, and which to me was, in a sense, it was the what investors had done with real estate, they were doing it with corporations. In other words, put a lot of debt on it, and and I thought, well, maybe it's the beginning of a credit boom. And indeed, and the credit boom was interrupted briefly but painfully at the beginning of the 90s, and then resumed, and then intensified at the beginning of the current century, and particularly in residential real estate, to the point where the last individual with, and I say it in my book, the last individual with no income, no job, no assets, was allowed to get a mortgage with no money down.
Yeah.
And then there was a credit bust in 2008, and the Federal Reserve came to the rescue and flooded the system with liquidity.
And gold was benefiting later on.
Right, and gold, the last, you had the gold standard until World War I, the classical gold standard until the end of World War I. After that, you have the so-called gold exchange standard, which was a weaker version of the gold standard. Then, after World War II, you had the name of that town in New Hampshire. I'm sorry?
I don't know. Right. Wilford? No, I don't know.
No. And then in 1971, and after World War II, the only constraint that remained was the fact that foreign governments, what happened was that there were countries in Europe that were exporting to the US. The exporter would be paid in dollars, and the exporter would bring the dollars to the French treasury and get French francs in exchange. And the foreign governments had the ability under the system, Bretton Woods Agreement.
Oh yeah, okay.
Had the ability under the system, Bretton Woods Agreement, to exchange the dollars for gold.
Yeah.
And then Nixon closed the so-called gold window.
Yeah.
And over the past 45 years, we've lived in a pure paper money system. And Americans have no problem with that, except that, but Europeans, the Germans do, because they remember the Weimar Republic after World War I, and the French do, because they remember not only the inflation in the 40s and 50s until de Gaulle came back, but also the episode in the 18th century of John Lass, and then the assignats at the time of the French Revolution, where there was hyperinflation. So it's protection. We own gold as protection because I can see that the people, that the entrepreneurs and capitalists who make mistakes, they are bailed out by the state. So because the state is afraid that it would be if they didn't do that, it would be a return to the Great Depression, and I want protection against what Peter Bernstein, the late Peter Bernstein, used to call extreme outcomes. And so, I'm not trying to time. I mean, at some point, either I would, my successor would decide, rather not I, my successor would decide that the protection against extreme outcomes is no longer needed, or that the protection has become too expensive. But otherwise, we continue to. have that protection.
Yeah, and what do you think about a company crisis? Warren Buffett bought a lot of his best stocks in a crisis, like I think Wells Fargo was a banking crisis. Yeah. Washington Post, they had a crisis because Nixon also in the 70s. Right. They wanted to take away.
It's a, if you can point to a business which he acquired American Express because there was a scandal.
Oil scandal.
That's right, an oil scandal. But he could see that it was temporary and that it was not, it was not, questioning the intrinsic value of the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when that happens. It's a great, it's a great opportunity. We did it with, and I give the example in the book, with Lindt and Sprüngli, the chocolate business.
Lindt, okay. What crisis was it?
It was, I don't remember whether it was in the 80s or early 90s. I think early 90s, where the company had been gone public 3 or 4 years before.
Yeah.
The company continued to be run by Rudy Sprüngli,
yeah.
who was a member of the Sprüngli family. And Rudy Sprüngli, to his credit, he never compromised the quality of the chocolate.
Yeah.
But he was a very easily irritable individual, and he changed chief operating officer every year or so. And the company was not as profitable as it should have been. He neglected the production side, the plants were not up to date, etc. And so the stock had declined from the time the company had gone public. But I could see that it was selling at 7 or 8 times earnings. And I thought, in different hands, the company should be much more profitable than that. And then I got lucky because Rudy Sprüngli made a big mistake. He was in his early 70s, and he dumped the woman he had married 45 years ago, before, and married an American who was 30 or 40 years younger than he was, and who on top of that was a member of a cult, not a criminal cult, but a member of a bizarre cult. And to the good Swiss society, it should not be tolerated.
Okay.
And the family waited a little bit, but after 1 year they got rid of Rudy.
Oh, and the stock went down?
The stock went down when he was caught, marrying the.
Oh, okay.
The American
That's
woman.
when you bought, huh? At that time, then?
No. I had bought before.
Okay.
And so the stock went down further.
Okay.
When that was announced, but I don't know who did it. The family hired a man who is still the chief executive officer, although I think he retires next year, who was originally from Germany or Austria, but was an American citizen, and who was a big gun with Johnson & Johnson in Europe. And it was a case of a very good management, new management, handling a very good business.
Yeah.
And the big mistake that Nestle and others made was that Nestle, because they had a chocolate business, but they were, as often in major companies like that, they were arrogant, and they said, well, we don't need to acquire Lindt and Sprüngli. We can develop our own chocolate business by ourselves.
Yeah.
The chocolate business of Nestle today is nowhere near as good as the Lindt business. And what's his name? Ernst Tanner, the new CEO. So it was a combination of a great management handling a potentially great business.
Yeah. So you enter in a crisis, and then the change comes, but you went through pain afterwards for a while, you said, because the crisis kept on going.
A little bit.
That's what you need, right? It's sometimes for pain.
No, but we already owned the stock.
Yeah.
So we bought more. So we knew about it. So
you added more then?
Oh yes.
Oh.
We bought more.
Oh.
Particularly And we kept buying more as long as the stock didn't go up too much. But I think we made close to 10 times our money from the stock that were not 10 times our money on the overall, but the stock we bought originally, and then combined with the stock we bought after he married the wrong woman, compared with the price at which my successor sold the stock, because it got to be extraordinary. I'm not complaining about the fact that he sold it, because it got to be extraordinarily expensive. Because it was seen again as a great business run by a great management. Although I worried for a while because they decided to invade the American market, the American chocolate does not taste the same as the chocolate from continental Europe. You're from Germany, right? But the new chief executive officer of Lindt decided that he would try to invade the American market, but he could see that he could not go to Walmart or Costco, etc. He had to prove to Walmart and Costco and the others that the Americans liked the Lindt, the taste of the Lindt chocolate, of the continental European chocolate. So he opened, there is one still on Fifth Avenue, he opened a number of retail stores. And the retail stores were very successful, so he could, I don't think the retail stores made much money, but they were very successful to the point that then he could go to Costco and Walmart and say, look.
It's high quality, it has a good brand name, right? It's
yes, I mean,
image is good.
You know, there are people who want to buy only chocolate that comes from Guatemala or whatever, but which they sell at extremely high prices. This is not what Lindt does.
And is there, what do you think about? We have a lot of crises, like cases like Deutsche Bank, Volkswagen. Is that something, like from a value point of view, something in general you would look at it, or is it so complicated and because you can't oversee sometimes it, right?
It's a case where the management of some companies make mistakes. In the case of Volkswagen, I mean, if your stock is publicly held, you have the pressure from outside shareholders. You may have the pressure if it's family control from the family. Today, probably not in Germany, probably not in continental Europe, but in the U.S. today, the chief executive officer, he knows that he's probably chief executive officer for 3 to 5 years, no more. If he's lucky. And so he wants the price of the stock, because he has stock options, he wants the price of the stock to go up relatively quickly. Cannot wait 10 years. And so top management tend to be short-term oriented, which means that they may not take steps that would be costly, but that would be in the best long-term interest of the business.